Commonly used in influence tactics. The researchers code influence behavior in the incidents into 9 tactics and classified outcomes of influence attempt as resistant, compliance, and commitment. First is the resistant. Occurs when the influence target does not wish to apply with the request and either passively or actively repels the influence attempt. So this is the person you are trying to influence, resist your effort to influence his or her behavior and either avoids, ignores, or actively resists your effort at influence. Second is the compliance. Occurs when the target does not necessarily want to obey, but they do. This is the person you are trying to influence accepts your influence attempt, but apathetically and enthusiastically. When the response to your influence attempt can be described as compliance, it is likely you have been successful in influencing the behavior, but not the attitude of your influence target. The last one is the commitment. This occurs when the target does not agree to the request but also actively supports it as well. So the objective of your influence attempts agrees with your decision or influence effort and makes enthusiastic, voluntarily effort to do what you have asked. The response comes not because the person has to, but because he or she wants to. So the first tactic is directional persuasion. This is more likely the result in compliance or commitment than in resistance. So persuasion includes using facts, data, and logical arguments to try to convince others that your point of view is the best alternative. So with directional persuasion, an agent uses logical arguments and factual evidence to persuade a target at a proposal or request is worthwhile. So this is the most commonly applied influence tactic. Rational persuasion is more likely to be effective when the agent and target share a common task objective. So effective rational persuasion includes the presentation of factual information that is clear and specific, relevant, and timely. The second tactic is legitimating. This is more likely to result in resistance or compliance than in commitment. So this occurs when the appeal is based on legitimate or position power. So with legitimate tactics, an agent seeks to establish the legitimacy of a request by claiming the authority to make it or by verifying that it is consistent with organization's policies, rules, or traditions. This tactic relies upon the compliance with rules, laws, and regulation. It is not intended to motivate people but to align them behind the direction. So legitimate tactics may induce a target to comply with a request if the target is convinced the request is within the agent's scope of authority and is consistent with organizational rules and policy. So authority is often used as a last resort. Does not work, you will not much have else to draw from your goal to persuade others. The third tactic is personal appears. It is more likely the result in compliance than in commitment or resistance. So appeals refers to helping other person because you like them and they ask you for help. Appeals to the target's feelings of your loyalty and friendship to influence the target to do something unusual or extra as a special favor. So therefore, personal appeals are most effective with people who know and like you. The fourth tactic is exchange. It is more likely to result in compliance than in commitment or resistance. Exchange refers to give and take, in which someone does something for you and do something for them in return. Exchange tactics involves explicit or implicit offers by an agent to provide a favor or benefits to a target in return for doing what the agent's request. So the role of reciprocation says that we should try to repay in kind what another person has provided to us. So the application of the rule obliges us and makes us indebted to the giver. So the fifth tactic is the ingressation. it is more likely to result in compliance than in commitment or resistance. So this refers to the different forms of making others feel good about themselves. So Ingressation includes any form of flattery done either before or during the influence attempt. The agent seeks to get a target in a good mood or to think favorably of him or her before making a request. So Ingressation can affect individuals. So the sixth tactic is the pressure. It is more likely to result in resistance or compliance than in commitment. So this refers to the exerting undue influence on someone to do what you want or else something undesirable will occur. So an agent uses demand, threats, or frequent checking or persistent reminders in an attempt to influence a target to carry out a request. So pressure tactics are most effective when used in a crisis situation and when they come from someone who has the other best interest in mind, such as getting an employee to an employee assistance program to deal with a substance abuse problem. So the seventh tactic is the coalition. It is more likely a result in resistance or compliance than in commitment. So this refers to the group of individuals working together towards a common goal to influence others. So this is agent enlists the aid or endorsement of other people to influence a target to do what the agent wants. So the common example of coalitions within the organization are unions that may threaten to strike if their demands are not met. Coalitions also take advantage of peer pressure. So the eighth tactic is the inspirational appeals. This is more likely to result in commitment than in compliance or resistance. So this seeks to tap into our values, emotions, and beliefs to gain support for a request or course of action. So an agent makes a request or proposal then arouses enthusiasm by appealing to a target's values, ideas, and aspiration, or by increasing the target confidence that he or she can do the request task. So the effective inspiration appeals are authentic, personal, big thinking, and enthusiastic. So the last tactic is the consultation. It is more likely to result in commitment than in compliance or resistance. This refers to the influence agents asking others for help in directly influencing or planning to influence another person or group. So the agent seeks a target participation in planning a strategy, activity, or change for which the target's supports and assistance are desired, or the agent is willing to modify a proposal to deal with the target's concerns and suggestions. So the most effective in organizations and cultures that value democratic is the decision making. So let's go now to impression management. So impression management means actively shaping the way you are perceived by the others. You can do this through your choice of clothing, the avatar or photos you use in presenting yourself online, the description of yourself on a resume or in an online profile, and so forth. So impression management is the effort to control or influence other people's perception. So by using impression management strategies, you control information that make others see you in a way you want to be seen. So this could be the perception of a certain people, including you, a material possession, or an event. So the impression management occurs throughout the workplace. It is especially salient when it comes to job interviews and promotional content. So on the job, the most effective approach to impression management is to do the two things at once. First is to build credibility and maintain authenticity. So first is the build credibility. So in order to establish credibility, unmask yourself and show the audience who you really are. If you are serious about establishing yourself as credible, you must be trustworthy. To cultivate credibility, you must build trust, earn trust, and get trust. The second is the maintain authenticity. So you're true to your own personality, values, spirit, and regardless of the pressure you're under to act otherwise. You're honest with yourself and with other people, and you take responsibility for your mistakes. So here are the three main categories of strategies and examples of each. First is the nonverbal impression management. So this is the management includes the clothes you choose to wear or your demeanor. So the example of nonverbal signal is the body art, including piercing and tattoos. So while the number of people in the United States who have body arts has risen from 1% in 1976 to 24% in 2006, it can hold you back at work. So a researcher did a survey and found out that 58% of the managers they surveyed said that they would less be likely to hire someone with visible body arts, and over 75% of respondents felt body art was unprofessional. The second is the verbal impression management. This includes the tone of your voice, race of your speech, and what you chose to say and how you say it. So managing how you project yourself in this way, you can alter the impression that others to have you. For example, if your voice has a high pitch and it is shaky, others may assume that you are nervous or unsure of yourself. So the last one is the behavior impression management. So this includes how you perform on the job and how you interact with others. So complimenting your boss is an example of a behavior that would indicate impression management.